ようございます。
おはようございます。You speak Japanese?
Very little.
Thank you.
I worked in Hanatsugi for Sony.
All right. Okay. Yeah, because I saw you are doing a lot of interesting media project.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Please tell me more.
We've been working on how to create high production value supply chain for content creation.
Wow, that seems like a little bit complicated for ordinary people. Tell me more precisely.
Well, what we've identified is there is two kinds of production.
Okay.
There is synthetic production, where you only use computer-generated imagery. And then there's natural production, where you shoot natural sets and locations, right? The traditional approach. And nowadays, when you wanted to add computer-generated imagery to natural productions, like as visual effects,
right.
It took a lot of time, it took a lot of preparation, and it took a lot of computational power to render the composited scenes that combine the computer-generated elements with the camera original elements.
I see.
But since of all the advances in the video game technology, they are now able to do this in real time.
Okay.
So now we're looking at a hybrid production environment where we combine computer-generated imagery with live action in real time.
Yeah, we can see already in the movie or many kind of visual kind of performance too.
Yes. So some of them require many layers and are very complicated, and some of them can be designed well, where I would typically use what's called chroma key, which would be a blue screen or green screen behind the talent that's being shot in principal photography. Now I replace the green screen or blue screen with LED television screens.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yes.
So that is more like, how can I say, production side, basically, production technology, not the software itself.
It is a software-based production technology.
Got it. Yeah.
Because all of the models and all of the lighting models, all the rendering, all the shaders are all software programs.
That's interesting. So how long have you been doing this kind of works?
I've been doing this type of works for 40 years.
Wow. So it's a kind of really starting time of the modern technology.
Yeah, as soon as it went electronic. So what happened is Akira Morita had received a letter from Francis Ford Coppola, who was the first gentleman in the production of films to use a Betamax tape deck.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
You heard about this? So what he would do is he would take a optical feed off of the viewfinder of the film camera, send it to a video camera, have the video camera recorded on the Betamax deck, so he didn't have to wait for the film to be developed.
Oh, okay. Well, that is already, I tell you, like something like a 1980s?
Correct.
Then, would you please tell me, after that, of course, visual technology is really developed based on the internet and the software and everything. And would you please tell me, I'm a little bit confused because these days, like a lot of Japanese technology, particularly visual area, is behind these days. And vice versa, like a lot of, how can I say, American technology, including like a modern technology of internet and everything is really, really advanced. How do you think about that kind of a movement?
Well, The innovation doesn't come from large companies.
Okay, good idea.
The innovation comes from one or two or a small group we call a center of competence with some radical new ideas that have the skill set to test them.
Yes.
And when I worked in Japan, I would ask my coworkers how they would get funded as a startup company.
That's tough in Japan.
That's what they told me. They said they don't know of any way to do that.
Where, there are a bunch of questions, detail-oriented questions, and they are, exhausting the energy before starting the project.
Exactly, right? and I learned something very valuable when a lad was telling us the story of why he funded George Lucas's Star Wars movie. He said, I don't understand anything about Star Wars. I didn't understand anything George Lucas told me.
Huh.
Okay? But I knew he had a fire in his belly.
Yeah.
And I knew he was going to not stop until he got it done.
Yep.
And that's why I took the risk.
You took a risk. You mean you invested yourself too?
No, I'm saying that's why the studio funded George Lucas's film.
Right. That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Right. And so parallel, you have to deal with a group of people that are your financial partners that are willing to take similar risks.
That's interesting because particularly in Japan, if somebody have an idea, that person is not always good at the financing and also kind of a management side. So, sometimes that people have idea and talk about it, but a lot of people criticize it from the financial basis or like a management basis. That crushes the idea itself. But you need a kind of good teamwork to generate it as a team.
Well, it's really the perspective, because if you approach it with the attitude that you're going to find out what's wrong with it, then you will find out what's wrong with it.
True.
Because if I tell my brain I want to find out what's wrong with this sushi, I will find out what's wrong with that sushi. If I tell my brain I want to find out why I love this sushi and why I love this sushi stuff so more, then I will find reasons that I love what he creates or what they do.
Oh, you are right. I tell you one example. This is really my experience too. Do you know population of the world right now? I believe that's 75 billion people over the world, right? And non-native speaker of English is approximately, my guess, around 20 billion. Okay, who want to learn English, which means, of course, population itself is different, but who want to learn English with a certain amount of the finance. Okay, and 20 billion people. They do not have any kind of proper access to learn English visually as well as, technologically, and also financially. But that huge market I'm always thinking about. But whenever I talk about it in Japan, sometimes really tough to convince people.
Well, you bring up a really good point, because I can't think of a better application for the internet than pairing up people, right? So if I found someone that wanted to learn Japanese and somebody else that wanted to learn English, and I made them a team, and they just talked a little bit every day, they would be conversant in less than a year.
Yeah, and also these days, this world is getting really complicated. Sometimes the internet benefit, people can talk like this. However, some people is really narrow their view because of only internet they want to see, which they are interested. But to, destroy that barrier to communicate by everybody, that kind of things maybe you can do, we can do together.
Well, it's a really good idea, because that is my latest invention. I call it the realm. And what I determined was Facebook's nice, but Facebook is not real because most people actually don't know each other that call each other friends in Facebook.
Exactly. Sometimes Facebook, even Twitter, or many social media is used for the grouping the people, and sometimes they are isolated to each other.
Exactly. So you and I both know that the growth of our career was based on the right people giving us opportunities. Right?
Exactly. So I heard that you are really interested in about like a global warming or environmental issue, or I mean kind of gap of the people or something like this, right?
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is create a deep semantic tagging of individuals so they can connect with other like-minded individuals.
That's good. How would you integrate your technology, between your technology and such kind of vision?
Well, what we'd like to do is to create purpose-planned communities. You can't fix the whole world at once, right?
Of course.
And what I liked about what I saw in Japan was everybody was very respectful of each other. Everybody was very honorable, and they all worked together as a group, right? And then they would put these groups together, because when I would go to a Hanatsugi and work at Sony, it wasn't a company, it was like a whole community.
True.
Right? And everybody knew that they had to do their part to make the whole thing work, whether you were the person cooking the rice for the people in the lunchroom or whether you were the president of the whole group. You each had your part to do, and everybody was respected and important.
Sure. But on the other hand, that makes risk is that makes a delay of the project, because as you said, that the individual power is ignored sometimes. So maybe that can be coming from the United States to make an integration.
So now if you could create a next generation community like the Bauhaus design studio and other places like that, you gather the thought leaders together, and then you find everybody else that likes what they're doing, right?
Beautiful. Bauhaus, I like that idea.
See?
Yeah.
Right? Because good design doesn't take any more thought than bad design, right? You just need the right people thinking about it, right? And design is wide-ranging, right? And so that's what I loved about learning about the Japanese culture, is how thoughtful things were. It wasn't here's your water, it's omizu, this is holy water, right? And so how do you get like-minded people together that have that? Other people may not have that predilection. They may not find that important. They may not do that. So they can't function in that group, because all they're going to do is cause cognitive dissonance. They're going to rock the apple cart. So by bringing like-minded people together that have similar belief systems, similar goals, you work together as a team, like putting together a good band.
I see. How do you think about the financial basis to move ahead?
What we're trying to do is we've got a plan to create what I call intelligent islands. And whether it's a physical island or a pretend island, it doesn't matter, but you basically create your own ecosystem.
That I agree. Both we need, like a virtual as well as physical too.
Yes.
I mean, nice island, people can gather like ashram to consider, from the humanity people, from the technology people working together to gather the idea to creations. Then virtual island, through the virtual island can be tested of that.
You're exactly right. So what we're talking about doing is creating a digital twin of the community. Then we work with fixed facility, which is the physical location, a mobile facility that travels and shows what's going on and gathers more people, and then the virtual world where I can never move to this place, wherever it is, but I still want to be part of it. And this is how I could be part of it through a virtual world.
You know, I mentioned about my idea about 20 billion English learners idea. That is really related with that's what you're talking about, particularly because through the English people can communicate together. And Western idea and the Eastern idea, or Indian idea, Japanese idea, as well as American ideas, you know, or diversity ideas, or like some kind of country like Japan, who is like a more relatively monoculture idea. You know, many kind of diversity can be talked together and to create a good synergy of the culture. And through that, we do need a good platform of the English communication and maybe local language communication too, as you say.
Absolutely, because by someone showing that they're willing to learn your culture and your language, they're showing respect, they're investing time, and that's the kind of balance I believe needs to be in place.
That's true, that's true. Well, do you have any particular plan, if you don't mind?
Particular what?
Particular plan or step, next step, or like are there any incremental?
Is I've documented this, and I used a test case where the first purpose plan community would be centered around wellness. How to put mind and body and spirit in balance. How not to focus on greed, and not to focus on me, focus on we, but be able to bring those kind of people together and create the thing. Be responsible for your own garbage. Be responsible for your own food. Be responsible for your own energy. Don't just turn the water on because you're at a hotel and you don't pay anymore if the hot water runs all day or not, but put it in balance, right? And so keep your data sovereign, keep your energy independence, keep your food independence and everything. And that way you got to, and I learned it by becoming a sailor.
Okay.
I would go out and do blue water sailing, and I realized that my ability to eat, live, and be very eco-friendly allowed me to be out in nature longer.
That means, like I heard that you are really concentrated upon the kind of environmental issue for the first time by gathering such kind of energy and technology.
Correct, because the goal that I have is that unlike Elon Musk, who wants to gather a bunch of people to go live on Mars, I would like to gather a group of people that would love to live in the ocean and take care of our oceans.
Yeah, it is important, like a pollution, not only oil or gas, but also like even a plastic these days.
Yes, and figuring out how to derive more food, figuring out what exotic molecules are in the sea creatures that could be really good pharmaceutical compounds that are more natural, figuring out how things regenerate. So instead of putting fake teeth in our mouth, we regenerate our teeth, we regenerate things.
Yeah, Michael, well, this is a huge project and create a huge, of course, I'm quite an optimistic guy, I believe. Myself is quite optimistic and I love to move forward. But whenever I talk about that kind of idea, always there's a barrier about, again, that's a people's kind of persuasions and the fundings and everything's, I mean, this barrier is so big, that is why people may give up pretty soon. Do you give me your idea, like spirit to
I see it a little. It is definitely a question that I've had to wrangle too and wrestle with. And so what I thought about is, how do we live now? Well, the way we live now is, we set up our home base that's close to the things that we love and want to do. And now with COVID and these other restrictions, we are forced to work at home. We're forced to constrain where we go, right? So what if we didn't live to take a vacation? What if we didn't live to do the escapism is what I call it. And what if you lived globally and spent 6 months over here and 5 months over there and 3 months over there because you're working from a remote location anyway. So I see a younger generation that would embrace this lifestyle, because then instead of waiting to go to the ocean for their vacation, they just go live there for a half a year.
Right. And then how you connect your technology of the kind of a visual technology and the internet, which is like such kind of activity can be shared by group of the people you mentioned through that.
So now what we have to do is we have to make those experiences that we share for work, for design, for manufacturing, forever virtual. So now we need the computer-generated imagery, virtual world, married with the real world in real time.
Oh, wow, that's
right. So now we take the entertainment technology and turn it into the new factory. We turn it into the new supply chain, and we build the digital twin of everything. So now that factory that you're going to build has already ran in the virtual world and have been optimized. We know what robot, we know what the materials coming in, we know every step of the process, and you use that environment for your constant improvement. You use that environment for your version control, and a lot of people are able to reach into that environment and do maintenance and do things that they don't physically need to be there. And for the ones that need arms and hands on site, they can be the subject matter experts and talk to a person that's there and guide them to perform the operation, so they don't physically have to travel there unless they do. So I built that for the U.S. Navy.
Oh, okay, that's good. So there was already alliance to work together. That's case.
Yes.
Next interview, maybe would you please introduce somebody who can share the similar idea, and then we will talk more.
Love to.
Yeah, great. And also, lastly, do you have any messages? Please give us a strong message to Japanese audiences.
You don't always, you have to know when to conform and when to be different. There's a proper time to conform, but sometimes you just gotta break tradition and be different. Because a famous person once said, a reasonable man will adopt to his environment.
Yes.
An unreasonable man will expect the environment to adopt to him. And therefore, all change comes from unreasonable men.
Exactly. You are exactly right. Michael, let's continue discussion and exchange idea.
I would love to.
Yeah. I will give the invitation periodically and to see the movement together and exchange idea more. And please feel free to contact me anytime.
Well, thank you very much, Hiroshi-san. I would like to also, on our next call, show you my documentation of these things, because I've made very detailed drawings and diagrams that may help you understand the concept, and also eliminate some of the barriers that you and I both know are there, because at the end of the day, it's all about meeting the right people that have the same vision.
I got it. So looking forward to seeing it for the next time, and we can share the kind of a screen together for your presentation.
Hi.
Okay. Thank you. ありがとうございます。Thank you very much. And I will send you email. Okay?
どういたしました。
はい、ありがとうございます。バイバイ。Thank you for your time.
Bye bye.